סגן דניאל מנדל התגייס לצה"ל בשנת 1999 ושירת כחייל קרבי בפלס"ר נחל. דניאל נפל בקרב בשכם בשנת 2003 במבצע ליחידת מחבלים שעמד בראשו. בן 24 היה בנפלו. הותיר הורים, אחות ו3 אחים. אני מתכבדת להזמין לבמה את אמו, שריל מנדל, לשאת דברים.
Lieutenant Daniel Mandel joined the IDF in 1999 and served as a combat soldier in the unit Palsar Nahal. Daniel lost his life in battle in the city of Nablus in 2003 in an operation he led to capture terrorists in the city. He was 24 years old. He is survived by his parents, his sister, and 3 brothers. I would like to invite his mother, Cheryl Mandel, to the stage.
Erev Tov, Likvod Rabbanim v'Mechubadim. I'm humbled and honored to be here tonight to be able to represent the families of the fallen. I first owe a big thank you to the organization One Family for the wonderful work they do and for bringing me here to New York for this week so that I could speak here tonight. When I speak, the first thing I do is I ask a question. And that question is mainly for non-Israelis. And that question is there something in your life that means enough to you, that's important enough to you, that you're willing to die for it? Because for Daniel, and not just Daniel, but all the Israelis that have served in the army, past, present, and future, the state of Israel means enough to them, is important enough to them, that they're willing to die for it. And they're doing it not just for themselves and their imas. And they're doing it not just for those of us that either by accident of birth or by choice are living in Israel today, but they're doing it for the Jews all over the world because they know what happened to Jews when there wasn't a state of Israel. People say to me, Cheryl, how is it that you can go on? You're so happy and you live your life and you do these amazing things. And Daniel was killed Erev Pesach, approximately 14 years and 14 days ago. And even though we just about did sit Shiva, 2 women came and they told me this story that influenced me and my family and the way we chose to respond. There was this lady and her child died. And the mother was sad, and she cried day and night, and she cried night and day, and she cried weeks, and she cried months, and she could not get herself together and stop crying. And one night she has a dream, and in that dream she goes down this long dark corridor, and at the end of the corridor there's a door, and she opens the door, and she's in a banquet room. And it's full of these beautiful young men and women, and they're sitting around a table, and they're laughing, and they're singing, and they're eating, and they're drinking, and some of them are even learning Torah. And in the corner, suddenly she sees her son, and she runs to him, she throws her arms around him, and she says, Hamudi, sweetheart. And she hugs him and kisses him and hugs him. She can't stop hugging him and kissing him. And then she says, just a second. Why are you here in the corner? Why aren't you with the guys? Why aren't you having a good time? And he looks at her and he says, Ima, how can I be happy when you're so sad? I truly know that Daniel doesn't want me to be sad. And I truly know that Daniel does not want me to go around the world talking about him, but he can't have everything. You know, I was born in the spring of 1948, just like Israel. So for the next minute or so, I want you to think of me as Mother Israel. And what I want you to know is that I love my children just as much as you love your children. and I send them to be in the army, and I send them to defend the state because it's important. Now, I'm not asking you all to get up and to come on Aliyah, but if you want to, there's definitely room for you. But I'm not asking you, but what I want you to know is that I've got your back. I'm there. My children and my grandchildren are there, and they're defending, at the risk of their own lives, they're defending the state of Israel for all of us. And I want something from you. I want you to have my back. I want you to support me politically, socially, financially. I need your support. Now, I know today that your hearts and your minds are open to me, to Mother Israel. But I want more than that. I need you to be open to me every single day of the year. I need you to have my back. I want to end with a little story about Daniel. Daniel had 18-month training in the Palsar Nachal. I know there's other soldiers here, so I'm taking a risk, but the Palsar Nachal is the top unit in the army. They trained for 18 months, and at the end of 18 months, how do they mark it? They walk for 90 kilometers, right? They have a 90-kilometer trek. I understand that that's around, for you Americans, 60 or 70 miles. But they don't just walk with their cell phone in one hand and their bottle of water in the other hand. They have got their weapon, and they've got their ammunition, and they've got their water, and they're walking for about 14 hours. And not only that, every one of the soldiers has got an additional responsibility. So the soldier in charge of communication carries the radio. The soldier in charge of first aid carries the first aid kit. And they take the big, strong guy, I gotta ask, and they give him the machine gun to carry. Who here carried the machine gun? Anybody? No? Okay. Because it's easier to take a big guy and teach him to shoot straight than to build up a straight shooter and have him carry this extra 20 pounds, around 10 kilo, for 14 hours. Anyhow, so the guys are excited. I don't know why, but they're excited that now they're gonna actually go and fight. So they set off on their trek, and they are walking, singing. They want to be the fastest. And what happens is the guy carrying the machine gun collapses. Daniel goes up to his friend to offer him a hand, well brought up Canadian, and his officer comes to him and says, Mandel, kachatamad. That's how they called him in the army, not Mandel, Mandel. Mandel, kachatamad. Now Daniel, he hadn't trained, he wasn't big and strong, he wasn't prepared, but his commanding officer said, Mandel, kachatamad. So Daniel took the machine gun and he set off. And he walked 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 and he walked. And he finished the 90 kilometers. He did go to the doctor. He was homesick for a week, but he did it. And why did he do it? Because his commanding officer said, Mandel, kachatamad. I, as Daniel's mother, I'm also on a trek. And that trek is called life. And now, in the middle of my trek, my commanding officer has said, Mandel, kachatamad. Cheryl, take this burden of being a bereaved mother. I said, who, me? I don't want it. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. But my commanding officer said, Mandel, kachatamad. like Daniel, I've shouldered the burden of being a bereaved mother. It's a burden that I've carried for 14 years and 14 days, and I'm going to carry it to my dying day. And I'm doing it with as much respect and love as I can, and not just for Daniel, but for all of Am Yisrael. I always, when I speak, I ask people to take on a mitzvah in Daniel's food. Anything. Give tzedakah. Be nice to call your mother. Clean your room. I don't know. Take on a mitzvah. And if after 14 years there's positive energy in the air that's being created by Daniel, we, his family, have a little bit of comfort. Am Yisrael Chai.